When I was a small boy, I used to love playing with magnifying glasses. I used to love holding up the lens to objects and insects and stones and so on, and see detail that the naked eye just could not see. It seems to me that this COVID pandemic has held up a huge magnifying glass to our nation. It's shown up things that normally we like to ignore, or normally we just can't quite see. And to be honest, what the COVID magnifying glass is showing us at the moment is not that great. I'm speaking to you from Burnley, a town which now has the highest COVID infection rates in the country. Across the post-industrial areas of the northwest and the northeast of England, the pandemic really has taken hold. The infection is endemic. And the reasons for that are quite easy to see. It's to do with poor quality, overcrowded housing, often the results of profiteering private landlords. It's to do with a culture of low pay, so that many people can't afford to isolate because 0 hours contracts means that stopping work would also stop them from being able to feed their children. It's about chronic health conditions, often the result of long-term poverty. What the COVID magnifying glass is showing us, in other words, is inequality. Growing inequality that's been getting worse and worse for decades, but which so often we want to ignore. Now, the scriptures are very clear that a nation is judged by the way it cares for its poorest and most vulnerable members. The prophet Amos, for example, is particularly mouthy about this. In chapter 5, he writes, "Take away from me the noise of your songs. To the melody of your harps I will not listen, but let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream." Are we a nation where justice is rolling down like waters? I rather fear that if the test of a nation is how it cares for its poor, that's one that we're failing right now. Lots of people at the moment are doing a lot of imagining about the kind of country we want to emerge from this pandemic. I have my own views about that. I'd love to see a nation in which everyone can live in good quality, affordable housing. I'd love to see a nation in which all those people who work hard are able to make ends meet. I'd love to see a nation in which our children and young people can make the best possible start, where there's equality of opportunity. But if we want to see a nation like that, it's no good shouting at others and making demands of other people. It begins with us. And as Christians, I'd say we have a particular responsibility. It's time for us to build a church that really is good news for the poor. What does that mean? It means a church, first of all, that models in its own life and its own structures the justice of the kingdom that it wants to see. It's no good demanding equality from others if the church itself is modelling and sustaining patterns of inequality. It means Christians who are really generous in service. Many, I suppose, are being tempted to introspection as this pandemic goes on and on. The best antidote to that is generous service and good volunteering. It means a church that's passionate about justice. It's no good just to serve. We've also got to ask why there is poverty and homelessness and hunger in the first place. That means going upstream and asking much more difficult and demanding questions. It means a church also that is really confident in its gospel proclamation, because the worst form of deprivation is to be deprived of ever hearing the saving news of God in Jesus Christ. We need a renewed nation after this pandemic, but a renewed nation needs a renewed church, and that begins with you and me.